a war that is taking place within the Republican Party over the Department of Homeland Security funding. People will remember that the Cromnibus was called the Cromnibus because it was an omnibus spending bill, but combined with a continuing resolution where everything was funded except for Department of Homeland Security, did not get a new budget. It got a continuing resolution, meaning that it was still on the funding trajectory that it was in fiscal 2014. And it was to be resolved in literally a couple of weeks from now. The Republicans in the House passed a bill funding the Department of Homeland Security, but calling for the defunding of the deferred action immigration program that the president announced. And of course you can't do that because it's not, the funding doesn't really come from there. So it really is just a way of holding the Department of Homeland Security hostage. In the Senate, we still have a filibuster for legislation, not for subsidiary judiciary picks, nominations under the Supreme Court or executive positions, cabinet positions, et cetera. And so Democrats will filibuster this bill, but basically Republicans in the House are telling Mitch McConnell, you got to go nuke.
Yeah, get rid of the filibuster, the thing that we screamed and yelled and called Obama a czar and you know, that kind of thing. But of course, I mean, there's no principle they can't dump when it's principle is probably the wrong word. Position they can't dump when it becomes more convenient for them. So, yeah, they're yelling at McConnell to do it, and of course, it's sort of almost like Boehner and McConnell throwing down. It's kind of fun.
I'll tell you what's really funny about this, to me, anyways, is that the Republicans in the Senate know that they are odds-on favorites to be in the minority in a year and a half, right? Or let's call it 2 years, because it's basically what it is. Yeah. In 2 years, in the 2016 elections, just about everybody anticipates, because of of how many Republicans are up for re-election, that the Democrats will control the Senate.
It's like a mirror image of 2014, but worse for them.
But worse for them, and here's the difference, is that everybody knows President Obama is going to veto this bill if it makes it through the Senate.
Right.
But in 2016, any bill that somehow gets out of the House and gets to the Senate would not be vetoed by a likely Democratic president. Again, this is all speculation. But so the Republicans in the Senate are very worried about getting rid of the filibuster, which is interesting, Cliff, because we were told by everybody who was against filibuster reform that if the Democrats did what they did, and we know the importance of what they did, ranging from, the National Labor Relations Board to what's happening with the D.C. Circuit. I mean, that court has already made key rulings. All of those things. They said if they get rid of the filibuster for these judicial appointments and for the cabinet and for other executive positions, the Republicans are going to immediately get rid of the filibuster for legislation, and of course they're afraid to do it. And so now there's this huge fight between the House and the Senate.
That's right, and I mean you just summed it up, quite well. I mean, I think largely. If one is a betting man or woman, you have to look and see that they do realize in the Senate that this is a short-lived majority, and so they're going to need this at some point, particularly obviously if a Democrat gets elected, and then after this, Antonin Scalia and Anthony Kennedy can only avoid the Grim Reaper for so long.
Now let me.
They're approaching 80. Or they are 80, somewhere in that range. And so, I mean, if you're looking at another potential two-term Democratic president, I mean, if they have to realistically look at the electoral map and know that whatever else they've fooled themselves into believing, they're going to have a really hard time with their current makeup and their current messaging of putting an electoral majority. I'm not saying, they can. It could happen, but it's going to be a challenge.
Let me read a quote to you, which I think really validates my claim that the difference between the Tea Party and the establishment Republicans is essentially just media training, because the one guy that you would imagine in the Senate whose hair would be on fire about this would be Ted Cruz, right? I mean, this is the guy who pushed the House Republicans to shut down the government. They pushed the House Republicans to vote with these contingencies on the Homeland Security funding in the first place. Here is his quote. "The answer is not to change Senate rules," said Ted Cruz. "The answer is for Senate Democrat not to be obstructionists." Now, when Ted Cruz has to resort to a process argument on this stuff, it is, I mean, that's just hilarious to me.
It is. Even hearing him use that word, he's so, I mean, that guy has needed psychological help for so long, so badly. The self-loathing, I mean, he's just such an angry guy, and it's just funny because he's not like some of these others that have no self-realization. I know.
Well, this is completely calculated.
You see the smirk on his face, and you know how full of crap he is.
But this is my point: is this is completely calculated, and he has lost this. I mean, this is to me a major capitulation, and it's basically saying to me that he realizes that if he's going to have a chance in this primary election that's coming up, he's got to essentially both thread the needle of being bat crap crazy to his constituents, but also basically do what he's being told to do by guys like Mitch McConnell. So it's not so much a policy
on some
thing,
level, yeah, he still has to be a team player if he's going to have a chance. I mean, I've come into the theory. I think I like yours with the media training. That's where I think, to me, at this point, the only difference between Tea Partiers and regular Republicans are regular Republicans wash their hands after they go potty. That's the difference. Tea Party Republicans don't think that you should work in a restaurant and washing should be optional.
Right. Well, I'm not sure that Tom Tillis. I mean, I'm quite convinced that most of them have that issue.
The mainstream ones may let you know that they didn't.
That's right.
In the nature of disclosure.
That's true. That's why you always have to be skeptical of the beer nuts.
It seems unlikely that bill is going to go anywhere except for, back to the House so they can vote on another one. I mean, talk about whimpers. I mean, the story continues to be that, like, the Republican Party has just sort of, the air has just slowly gone out of their little bubble.
It's been amazing. I mean, some of it is due to Obama acting in a manner which we've wanted for a while, and and some of the executive orders, but it's also the self-inflicted wounds on these guys. I mean, they're taking up the what I like to call the rape police abortion bill that even had women in the Republican Party freaking out, and their guy Scalise, who was busy posing before the Burning Cross, not too long before they decided to put him in leadership. And this, it is one thing after another. I mean, we all knew they couldn't govern, but it's sort of interesting to see it in action.
Right. It is fascinating, and things are only going to get worse for them. It seems to me when the real posturing starts with the presidential election. But
right.